This is my favorite brush. You can write really large letters with it, or use it to paint pictures. Long ago in China, a brush like this would have cost a lot of money, more than a poor boy who loved painting could afford to pay. Once upon a time, in China, there was a boy called Ma Liang. He liked drawing and painting, but he was too poor to buy a brush. So he made pictures with stones. With sticks. And with his fingers. One night he said,
"I need a brush. If I had a brush, I could paint some pictures for the people in my village."
Suddenly, an old man appeared. He had a long white beard. The old man said,
"Don't be frightened. Here's a brush for you. Now you can paint pictures for the people in your village."
When the old man had gone, Ma Liang began to paint with his new brush. He painted a cockerel, and it changed into a real cockerel.
Wow!
He said,
This is a magic brush.
The next day, he went all over the village. He painted pictures for the people in his village. Pictures of things that people needed. He watched a woman cutting wood.
"You need an axe,"
He said,
"If you had an axe, you could cut wood quickly."
so he painted an axe. And it changed into a real axe. Next, he watched a man pulling a plough.
"You need a buffalo."
He said,
"If you had a buffalo, you could plough your land quickly."
So he painted a buffalo. And it changed into a real buffalo. He went all over the village and he painted what people needed. Soon, the king heard about Ma Liang and his magic brush. He sent his soldiers to fetch Ma Liang. The king said,
"Paint me a tree covered with gold coins."
Ma Liang said,
"No, I won't. You don't need any gold coins."
The king was very angry.
"You wicked boy, I'll put you in prison."
So his soldiers put Ma Liang in prison and locked the door. Ma Liang said,
I need a key. If I had a key, I could open the door.
So he painted a key. And it changed into a real key. He opened the door with it, and he escaped. The king and the soldiers jumped on their horses and chased him. Ma Liang said,
I need a horse.
So he painted a horse. And it changed into a real horse. He jumped on the horse and galloped away. But still the king and his soldiers chased Ma Liang.
I know what I'll do,
he said. He painted a huge hole. And it changed into a real hole. He watched the king and the soldiers coming nearer and nearer. They were riding too fast to stop. And they disappeared into the hole. Ma Liang was safe. He rode home and told his story to all the people in his village. You can tell someone the story of Ma Liang and his magic brush. It really was a useful brush. But then, brushes are useful, magic or not.
I'm Super Sid, the scrubbing brush. I scrub away the mud. I clean the dirty vegetables and chase away that grub. I'm Bristly Bill, the hot brush. My head is like a thistle. I scour the dirty pots and pans and get them clean as a whistle. I'm Busy Betty the floor brush. I work with my friend Stan. I sweep away the dust and dirt and leave rooms spick and span. We are Sid, Bill and Betty. We scrub and scour and scrape. And when our work is over, we take our dinner break.
Have you got any useful brushes at home? As useful as these three?
Super Sid, Bristly Bill, Busy Betty.
Have a look. You might be lucky enough to find a brush as useful as Ma Liang's. Remember what the king wanted Ma Liang to paint with his magic brush?
Paint me a tree covered with gold coins.
A tree covered with gold coins. Wonder what you'd do with all those gold coins. Hope you wouldn't just keep on counting them like the Emperor of China. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
time.
Hello. Did you think you were looking at trees in a wood out in the countryside? They're real, these trees, but tiny. They're miniature trees planted in a shallow dish. I'm going to make another country scene with some rocks and moss I collected when I was out for a walk, and some miniature trees I got from a garden shop. See how short the roots are? They're kept short so that they can fit into a dish as shallow as this. The holes are to allow the water to drain out when the tree is planted. We need some crocks here to stop the soil from falling through the holes. Soil for the roots to grow in. Think I'll put a rock here and plant a tree in front of it. What does it make you think of? A mountain with a tree seen from far away? Think I'll put some moss here for the fields. And some sand for a path. There you are. A country scene. What have you got there?
Flower pots. We're waiting for our flowers to grow.
Don't think flowers will grow while you watch.
Ours will. Three little flower pots standing in a row. What do the flowers need to help them grow? Down comes the rain and out comes the sun. Up come the flowers one by one.
I've never known flowers grow so quickly, have you? And in an ordinary flower pot, too. We got ours from the local pottery, where they make them in all shapes and sizes. To make flower pots, you need clay. Clay dug from the ground. But the clay needs working on first to make it soft enough for the potter. He uses a potter's wheel. As the clay spins around on the wheel, the potter shapes the clay with his hands. Look, can you see how it's taking on the shape of a flower pot? And a very big one. There, it's finished. Now it can be put with all the other pots which are waiting to be taken to the kiln. When the fire in the kiln is hot enough, the pots can then be put in for baking. It's not as easy as it looks, making pots, as you'll find out from our story of Fu, the clumsy potter. Long ago, in the land of Chen, there lived a princess. Lo Yen was young and beautiful and fond of music. Now, in those days, the people of Chen did not have music like ours. No, they made their music on vases, and each tune was of one note, or two notes, or at most three. All the potters in the land of Chen wanted to make a vase more beautiful than any that had been made before. Now every year a competition was held.
Shang from Antong.
And the potters would go up to the palace of Princess Lo Yen and take their vases. Now there was a potter called Fu who wanted to win the competition because he wished above all to please the princess and see her smile. Fu was a hard-working potter, but the truth is that he was clumsy. Sometimes his clay was too dry and broke. Sometimes it was too thick, so that his vases wouldn't ring. Sometimes the shapes were ugly. All the same, he worked away happily, sure that one day he would make the vase which would win him the princess's smile. When the time for the competition came round again, Fu took his best vase to the palace. On her throne in the great hall sat the princess. The judges sat at a long table with paper and ink and brushes for them to make notes. For several hours, the competition went on. At last, it was Fu's turn.
Fu from Xinjiang.
His vase was a clumsy-looking object, and it gave no note at all. Only a hollow, dead sound. Lo Yen said nothing, but looked a little sad. Poor Fu took up his clay pot and went home. The very next day, he began all over again. He slapped a great lump of red clay onto his wheel and began to turn and shape it as best he could. All year long, he worked hard, thinking of the princess and her smile. When the time came round again, he chose his best pot to take to the palace.
Fu from Xinjiang.
The chief musician wondered why such a clumsy potter kept on trying. Fu's new vase was quite ugly, squat, with two handles which anyone could see didn't match. And as for the sound, well, the judges didn't even bother to put a single mark against Fu's name. Poor Fu. Again, he had failed to make the princess smile. As he turned to leave, he stumbled. His pot smashed. And Foo crept away, too ashamed even to pick up the pieces. The servant boy noticed what a pleasant sound the pieces of pottery made. To amuse himself, he picked up a stick and, using it as a hammer, he hit each piece and listened to the sound it made. That evening, the princess was walking in the garden. The air was quiet and still. Suddenly, she heard beautiful sounds. Sounds which had never been heard before in the land of Chen. The music made her dance with pleasure. It was the servant boy. He had made a bamboo frame for his pieces of pottery and hung them in a row. And with all the notes he had made up a tune. The princess was delighted with the new music and asked if she might try the instrument. The servant boy explained how he had made the instrument from Foo's broken vase. "Ah, I remember Foo," said the princess. "I must see if he can be found." The next day, Foo the potter was brought to the palace. Princess Lo Yen thanked him for having made the pieces of pottery for the new instrument. And so, Foo got his wish, to see the princess smile. Soon, the new music became the fashion, and everybody had pottery pieces strung on a bamboo frame. The chief musician ordered for himself the biggest instrument of all, so he could invent more complicated tunes of his own. And that was the beginning of true music in the land of Chen. We've got our own set of pottery pieces. The potter covered them with a shiny glaze so they'll catch the light when you hang them up. And don't they make a lovely sound? We've been trying out the sounds our flower pots make, but I'm going to leave it to the wind to play us a tune. Goodbye.
Amazing violin.
Storytime.
pretending to play the piano. Why don't you pretend to play as well, like this?
Pia, pia, piano, 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 pia, pia, piano, pia, piano.
I am a music man. I come from far away and I can play.
What can you play?
I play piano.
Pia, pia, piano, 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 pia, pia, piano, pia, piano.
I am a music man. I come from far away and I can play.
What can you play?
I play the trumpet.
Tootie, 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 too, tootie, too, tootie, too, tootie, 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 too, tootie, tootie, too.
And I know somebody else who plays the trumpet, Mr. Magnolia. He has an old trumpet that goes rooty-toot, and two lovely sisters who play on the flute. But Mr. Magnolia, poor Mr. Magnolia has only one boot.
Mr. Magnolia has only one boot. He has an old trumpet that goes rooty-toot. And two lovely sisters who play on the flute. But Mr. Magnolia has only one boot. In his pond live a frog and a toad. He has green parakeets who pick holes in his suit. And some very fat owls who are learning to hoot. But Mr. Magnolia has only one boot. He gives rides to his friends when he goes for a scoot. And the splash is immense when he comes down the chute. But Mr. Magnolia has only one boot. Just look at the way that he juggles with fruit. The mice all march past as he takes a salute. And his dinosaur, what a magnificent brute. But Mr. Magnolia, poor Mr. Magnolia has only one boot. Hey, wait a minute. Now then, keep going. What's this? Look, it's a boot. It's a boot. Whoopee for Mr. Magnolia's new boot.
Do you like listening to music? We do, don't we?
Yes.
And so do the children in this story. They're listening to a tune Patrick's playing on his violin. Mind you, there was something rather special about the tunes Patrick played. This is a story about a young man called Patrick who set out from his house one day to buy a violin. In the town, the streets were full of stalls. One sold vegetables, one sold fish, and another sold clothes. And these stalls were very interesting, but Patrick did not stop until he came to the one kept by Mr. Onions. On his stall, he had a broken jug, an old lamp, a mouse trap, and all sorts of things that people didn't want anymore. Have you a violin to sell? Asked Patrick. Well, you're in luck, said Mr. Onions. I have just one. Patrick bought the violin with his only silver piece. He was so pleased that he ran as fast as he could out into the fields. When he got there, he blew the dust off his violin. Then he sat down by a pond and began to play a tune. As he played, the most extraordinary thing happened. One by one, the fish in the pond began to jump out and fly about in the air. And what is more, they were all different colours, and they were singing to the music. Just then, a girl and a boy came along the road. Their names were Kath and Mick. "Did you do that?" asked Mick, pointing to the fish in the air. And Patrick said, "Yes." Then he played another tune, and the string tying Kath's hair turned into red ribbons, and the laces in Mick's boots turned into blue ribbons. And so the three went down the road together. Soon they came to an orchard of apple trees. Patrick played his violin, and the leaves on the trees changed to all kinds of bright colours. Instead of apples, the trees began to grow pears and bananas and cakes and ice creams and slices of hot buttered toast. Kath and Mick ran about among the trees and helped themselves to whatever they liked. As they were eating, a flock of pigeons flew down. And Patrick played his violin again. The birds began to sprout bright new feathers until they were the most beautiful birds you have ever seen. Kath and Mick fed them on crumbs of chocolate cake. After Patrick and the children had gone a little farther, they met some cows. They were white with black spots. But when Patrick played his violin, the cows became covered with coloured stars and started to dance to the music. So they all went along the road together until they met a tramp. The tramp had whiskers and a hat with a broken top where his hair poked through. He was smoking a pipe, and every time he gave a puff, sparks flew out of it. "Oh, that's a lovely tune you're playing," said the tramp. There's nothing I like better than a tune on a violin. So Patrick played even harder, and the sparks from the pipe of the whiskery tramp got bigger and brighter until they were showers of fireworks. On they all went along the road. It was just like a procession. The fish and the birds singing, the cows dancing, Mick and Kath with their ribbons, the whiskery tramp puffing fireworks from his pipe, and Patrick playing on his violin. Before long, they met a tinker and his wife with a horse and cart. "Look at our procession!" shouted Kath. "Isn't it fun?" "How can he enjoy it?" asked the tinker's wife. "He's very thin, and I don't know what to do for him. He's got a cough, and a cold, and a stomach ache, and a headache. We have to travel so slowly, I don't know how we'll get to the town before dark. Let me play my violin and see what happens," said Patrick. So he played a tune, and you can see what happened. The tinker started to get fatter. He lost his cough, and his cold, and his stomach ache and his headache, until he was well and smiling and happy again. And not only that, look what happened to his horse and cart. The tinker and his wife climbed on, and so did Patrick, and Kath, and Mick, and the whiskery tramp. The fish and the birds flew above them, and the cows galloped along behind, and they all got back to the town before dark. But they had a good time, didn't they? Would you like a violin like Patrick's? Maybe extraordinary things would happen when you played a tune on it.
You can make lilies grow on the trees in winter. And flowers, lots of them. And you could have all kinds of delicious fruit for the birds to eat, so they wouldn't be hungry. And the birds could grow new feathers. And they'd be the most beautiful birds you've ever seen. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Storytime.
The wheels on the car go round and round, round and round, round and round.
wheels out of cardboard with a rod that makes the wheel turn round and round. What have you fixed on the edge of your wheel there, Danny? Let's have a look. Teacups. And when Danny turns the wheel, it looks as though the teacups are being juggled in the air by the clown. Good, isn't it? What have you two made for your clowns to juggle with, eh? Ranjit?
Plates.
What about you, Rosanna?
Currant bun.
Currant buns, delicious. Oh, we'll be able to have some refreshments when the show is over. Now, weren't they clever? Especially the last clown, balancing on a bike with one wheel and no handlebars to hold on to. This is Mrs. Armitage. Her bicycle's got handlebars and two wheels. A perfectly ordinary bike, really. Until Mrs. Armitage started to get ideas about the things her bike needed. Mrs. Armitage was out on her bicycle. Breakspear the dog ran alongside. A hedgehog walked across the road. Tring, tring, went Mrs. Armitage on the bell. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a really loud horn. Mrs. Armitage bought 3 horns. They were all very loud.
Beep, beep. Honk, honk. Bye-oo.
Went Mrs. Armitage on her horns. Then the chain came off. By the time Mrs. Armitage had got it on again, her hands were all black and greasy. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is somewhere to wash your hands. So she got a bucket of water and a towel and a soap rack with a bar of soap. And she hung them all onto the bike. And off she went with beautifully clean hands. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself as she cycled along, if it's to be looked after properly, is a complete toolkit. So she got a toolbox with spanners and hammers and screwdrivers and cans of penetrating oil, and she fixed it onto the back of the bicycle, and off she went. By now, Mrs. Armitage was beginning to think about food. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is somewhere to carry a light snack. So she got a tray for apples and bananas and cheese and tomato sandwiches and a special basket for bones and dog biscuits for Breakspear. And she fixed them all onto the bike, and off they went. But by now, poor Breakspear was feeling quite tired running along beside the bicycle. You could tell because his tongue was hanging out and he was panting. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is something for a faithful dog to ride on. So she got some iron brackets and some nuts and bolts and some cushions, and she made a seat for Breakspear, and off they went. They had stopped beside the road for some sandwiches and dog biscuits when it began to rain. Great heavens, said Mrs. Armitage. What this bike needs, Breakspear, is something to keep the rain off. So she got 2 umbrellas, one large, one small, and she fixed them up on the bicycle. And off they went. Riding through the rain, Mrs. Armitage began to feel rather downhearted. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of cheerful music. So she got a transistor radio cassette player and a lot of cassettes of cheerful music and a mouth organ so that she could join in. And she fixed them all to the bike, and off they went. Mrs. Armitage was turning the pedals so fast and blowing the mouth organ so hard that soon she was nearly exhausted. What this bike needs, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, is a bit of extra oomph. And so she got some wood and some ropes and some tarpaulin. She rigged up a mast and a sail, and she added a few yards of bunting and an anchor into the bargain. And off they went with the wind behind them. Faster and faster and faster until... crash! Crunch! Clang! Clatter! Thud! Higher! What this bike needs, Breakspear, said Mrs. Armitage as she picked herself up from the wreckage, is taking to the dump. And what I need is... whoopee! But what these roller skates need, said Mrs. Armitage to herself, what these roller skates need is... And I wonder what Mrs. Armitage thought of next. Do you think you could invent some new ways of getting about? you, it just might be quieter to go by bus. Goodbye.
Bye! The wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bus go round and round all day long. The wheels on the bicycle go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the bicycle go round and round all day long. The wheels on the van go round and round, round and round, round and round. The wheels on the van go round and round all day long.
Story time.
Three little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. Two little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. One little monkey playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. No little monkey playing in a tree.
I'd better watch out or he might get me. Or you. Hello. We started our song with 5 little monkeys, but they got picked off one by one. It's not a good idea to tease a crocodile unless you can make a quick getaway.
5 little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. 4 little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. 3 little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. 2 little monkeys playing in a tree, teasing Mr. Crocodile, can't catch me. 1 little monkey. No little monkeys playing in a tree.
Monkeys can be very cheeky. These monkeys are throwing nuts trying to hit a tiger. They know he can't catch them. He's such a tired, scraggy tiger. He's not stupid, though, and one day he thinks of a very good way of making a comfortable life for himself. There was once a very thin tiger who lived on the edge of the jungle. He was sad and thin because he was getting old and food was difficult to catch. The monkeys threw nuts at him and called him names. night, he would gaze at the Raja's palace. Sometimes he would look in the windows as the Raja and his family ate their food in warmth and comfort. He wished that he could join their friendly company. One day, he was watching a servant beating the rugs in the palace gardens. One of the old rugs was a tiger skin. The tiger had an idea. While the servant's back was turned, he jumped over the wall. He took down the old tiger skin rug and he hid it under a bush. He draped himself over the line. The servant continued with his beating and beat poor Tiger even harder than the rest of the rugs because he looked so dusty and moth-eaten. Finally, when there was not a speck of dust left, the servant carried all the rugs back into the palace. Tiger was put in the dining hall. Soon the Raja and his family came in to have their evening meal. They laughed and ate and talked, and Tiger was glad to be in their company. They did not notice him, for he looked thin and moth-eaten, just like the old tiger skin rug which they were used to. After the meal, when they had all left the room, Tiger finished all the scraps. Then he drank some tea and lay down for a good night's sleep. This was a wonderful life. Every day he enjoyed the family's company. Every evening he finished the scraps and drank some tea. But he was careful to keep very still when anyone came into the room. At first, nobody suspected that he was not the real tiger skin rug because he was so thin and looked so moth-eaten. The family would play with him and pretend he was a real live tiger. But Tiger was worried because he knew that he was not as thin as he used to be or as moth-eaten. One day, the Raja said, "How strange! The old tiger skin rug has improved with age, but it really is beginning to smell. If it cannot be cleaned, it will have to go." The following day, the tiger was taken out into the garden and scrubbed with an old broom. The soap made his eyes sting. Then he was left on the line in the hot sun to drip and dry. When the servant carried Tiger back to the dining hall, he complained that either the tiger skin rug was getting heavier or he was getting older and weaker. That night, the tiger did not eat any scraps and he couldn't sleep. He knew that he would soon be found out and perhaps be made into a real tiger skin rug. Whatever could he do? Suddenly, he heard a noise. 3 robbers were climbing in through the window. The robbers were carrying a sack. They began to fill the sack with silver dishes, ornaments, and anything of value. While Tiger was wondering what to do, the Raja rushed in. The robbers knocked him down and drew out wicked knives. Then Tiger stood up and roared. The roar echoed down every corridor and round every room and across the palace gardens, waking everybody. Tiger leapt to the Raja's rescue. The 3 robbers took flight. They were in such a hurry that they became stuck in the window as they fought to get through all at once. When the Raja and his family and servants had gathered, the Raja proclaimed, "The tiger skin rug has saved us. He must stay forever." He was never beaten and scrubbed again, but instead he bathed in the garden pool. He went on picnics with a family and rode on elephants. He no longer ate scraps. He had his own plate of food and his own bowl of the best Indian tea. In the evening, he lay on the floor with the family around him, for he was still their tiger skin rug, a real tiger skin rug, and the best in the whole world.
How's this for a tiger skin rug? It's not a real one. I made it for Rizwan to wear, with a tiger mask to go with it, so he can pretend to be a tiger. A hungry tiger. Maybe he'll catch a monkey for his tea. There's one monkey who got away. Hope the others are as lucky. Goodbye.
Who's afraid of the hungry tiger? He wants a monkey for his tea. I'm not afraid.
Storytime.
1 hand, 2 hands, 3 hands, 4. 4 hands wide is the width of the door. 2 hands, 4 hands, 6 hands, 8. 8 hands long is the length of Kate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 hands high is the height of Kevin. Use your hands. I'm sure you're able to find out the width, to find out the height, to find out the length of a table.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 hands to go around the table. Hello.
Hello.
We're having a picnic in the garden today. And here come the helpers. And they brought along a round biscuit tin and some round paper plates. Oh, it's very nice to have so many helpers. Watch out for how often we use our hands. You'll be surprised to see just how useful hands can be.
Hands wash. Hands take. Hands mix. Hands break. Hands pull. Hands shake. We all use hands to bake a cake.
Well, while that sponge cake bakes in the oven, I'll tell you a story about another round-shaped cake, a Johnny cake. Once upon a time, there was an old man, an old woman, and a little boy. One morning, the old woman made a Johnny cake and put it in the oven to bake. You watch the Johnny cake, she said to the little boy, while your father and I go out to work in the garden. The old man and the old woman left the little boy to keep an eye on the oven and went out to work in the garden. But the little boy soon forgot about the cake in the oven. Suddenly, he heard a noise. He looked up and saw the oven door pop open. Out of the oven jumped Johnny Cake and went rolling over and over towards the open door of the house. The little boy ran to shut the door, but Johnny Cake was too quick for him. He rolled through the door and out into the road before the little boy could catch him. He rolled and he rolled, with the little boy running after him as fast as he could run. When they saw what was happening, the old man and the old woman joined in the chase. But Johnny Cake rolled faster than they could run and was soon out of sight. The little boy and his father and mother, quite out of breath, had to sit down on a bank to rest. On rolled Johnny Cake. He rolled and he rolled. By and by, he came to two men who were digging a ditch.
Stop! Stop, Johnny Cake!
Called the ditch diggers. But Johnny Cake wouldn't stop. I can go faster than an old man, an old woman, and a little boy, said Johnny Cake. And I can go faster than you, too.
You can you? We'll see about that,
said the two ditch diggers. And they threw down their spades and ran after him. But Johnny Cake was soon way ahead of them. Seeing they could never catch him, the two ditch diggers gave up the chase and sat down to rest. On rolled Johnny Cake. He rolled and he rolled. By and by, he came to a bear. The bear said,
Stop! Stop, Johnny Cake!
But Johnny Cake would not stop. He said, I can go faster than an old man, an old woman, a little boy, and two ditch diggers. And I can go faster than you, too!
You can you?
Snarled the bear.
We'll see about that.
He trotted as fast as his legs could carry him after Johnny Cake, who never stopped to look behind him. Before long, the bear was left far behind. He saw he might as well give up the hunt. He stretched himself out by the roadside to rest. On rolled Johnny Cake. He rolled and he rolled. By and by, he came to a fox who was lying quietly by the side of the fence. Without getting up, the fox called,
Where are you going, Johnny Cake?
Johnny Cake said, I can go faster than an old man, an old woman, a little boy, two ditch diggers, a bear, and I can go faster than you, too. The fox said,
I can't quite hear you, Johnny Cake. Won't you come a little closer?
Johnny Cake stopped his race for the first time and went a little closer. He called out in a very loud voice, I can go faster than an old man, an old woman, a little boy, two ditch diggers, a bear, and I can go faster than you, too.
Can't quite hear you. Won't you come a little closer?
Said the fox in a feeble voice. He stretched out his neck towards Johnny Cake and put one paw behind his ear. Johnny Cake came up close and screamed out, I can go faster than an old man, an old woman, a little boy, two ditch diggers, a bear, and I can go faster than you, too.
You can you?
yelped the fox, and he snapped up Johnny Cake in his sharp teeth and ate him in the twinkling of an eye.
Poor Johnny Cake. He boasted once too often. This book shows us how to bake cakes. Cheese shapes. This looks interesting. Now, to make these, you need some flour, some butter, some grated cheese, 1 pinch of salt, 1 egg, and 1 tablespoonful of water. I know some children who made cheese shapes at school, and they started with flour.
You've sifted the flour. Now let's see, Samantha, can you take the flour? And Sarah, will you put the butter into the bowl for me? Yes? Come on then. Scrape it off. All goes in. That's lovely. Right, Milan, can you add a pinch of salt? Do you know what pinch of salt is? That's right. Pinch of salt. Into there. Mix it all. So what have we got in there? We've got the flour, the butter, and the pinch of salt. That's right. Now I'm going to put the egg in. Who knows what the yolk of the egg is?
Yellow bits.
The yellow bits. Let's see. Oops. There we go. Oh, let's see.
Whoa, there's the yolk.
Got it. I've got it. Hang on. Hang on. That's right. Got all the white bit.
There's the oil.
There we go. And Christopher, can you put a tablespoon of water in there for me? Yes, put your spoon in, see if you can fill it up. That's right. That's lovely. Yes, tip. Stephen, can you put some cheese in for us, please? Scrape it in. Lovely. Thank you very much. And Samantha, can you mix it in? Does it feel very different to when it did first of all?
It's like cheese now.
Cheese, you can smell the cheese, yes. And it's getting very sticky, isn't it?
This is cheese.
Right, can you make that into a ball now, please? Let's put this across here. Oops. Let's take, roll it out. Yes, that's fine. Put it on the thing and roll it out.
Yeah.
Stephen, very gently. It's lovely. Try and get the edges as well. That's super. Oops. There we go. Milan, would you like to cut yours out? That's lovely. Good boy, Christopher. Right, yes. Star there.
Wow.
We've already baked our cheese shapes, and we're going to eat them for our picnic. Yes, and they're all different shapes. There you are, Emma. What's your shape?
A star shape.
Yes. Chammy, what's that?
Flower shape.
Flower. How about that one?
A moon shape.
That's right, a moon. Christian, what about that one?
A duck shape.
A duck. Which one shall I have? I'll have this one, a moon. Now, the good thing about cheese shapes is that you can eat them. Do. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. I love them, don't they? I wonder how that sponge cake turned out. I expect it must be baked by now.
Right, should we cut the cake now? Didn't it turn out well? Cut it in half. And we'll cut it in half again. A lovely cake. Let's just cut it into 8 slices, shall we? It's the first slice for Benjamin. There you go. Lorna. Lovely. There you are. And for Sonia. There we go. Right, enjoy your cake. Is it good, Benjamin? Is it? Enjoy it.
Duck's eggs. And
How do you know that they're duck's eggs?
Because we looked inside.
Did you? Show me. Ooh, one little duck. Two little ducks. Ducklings. Should we put them back in? In there. One in there. This one. And this one looks like a hen's egg, doesn't it? It's not a real hen's egg, though. And I think there's something inside this one, too. Could it be a little chicken just ready to hatch? Hens spend all day pecking and scratching for food, but baby chicks have to learn how to find food for themselves.
The first chicken said with a queer little squirm, I can only find this skinny little worm. The second chicken said with a funny little shrug, I can only find this nasty little slug. The third chicken said with a sharp little squeal, I can only find this old lemon peel. The fourth chicken said with a tired little moan, I can only find this hard little stone. The fifth chicken said with a little cry of grief, I can only find this little green leaf. Mother hen called from the green garden patch, if you want any food, come here and scratch.
But those chickens will learn how to find food for themselves soon enough. This story is about a mother bird who went to find something to eat for her baby bird. A mother bird sat on her egg. The egg jumped.
Oh, said the mother bird. My baby will be here. He will want something to eat. I must get something for my baby bird to eat, she said. I will be back. So away she went. The egg jumped. It jumped and jumped and jumped. Out came the baby bird.
Where is my mother?
He said. He looked for her. He looked up. He did not see her. He looked down. He did not see her.
I will go and look for her,
he said. So away he went. Down. Out of the tree he went.
Down, down, down. It was a long way down. The baby bird could not fly. He could not fly, but he could walk.
Now I will go and find my mother,
he said. He did not know what his mother looked like. He went right by her. He did not see her. He came to a kitten.
Are you my mother?
He said to the kitten. The kitten just looked and looked. It did not say a thing. The kitten was not his mother, so he went on. Then he came to a hen.
Are you my mother?
He said to the hen. No, said the hen. The kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. So the baby bird went on.
I have to find my mother,
he said.
But where? Where is she? Where could she be?
Then he came to a dog.
Are you my mother?
He said to the dog.
I am not your mother. I am a dog,
said the dog. The kitten was not his mother. The hen was not his mother. The dog was not his mother. So the baby bird went on. Now he came to a cow.
Are you my mother?
He said to the cow.
How could I be your mother?
Said the cow.
I am a cow.
The kitten and the hen were not his mother. The dog and the cow were not his mother. Did he have a mother?
I did have a mother,
said the baby bird.
I know I did. I have to find her. I will.
Now the baby bird did not walk. He ran. The baby bird did not stop. He ran on and on. Now he looked way, way down. He saw a boat.
There she is,
said the baby bird. He called to the boat.
Here I am, Mother.
But the boat did not stop. Just then, the baby bird saw a big thing. This must be his mother.
There she is. There is my mother.
He ran right up to it.
Mother! Here I am, Mother!
He said to the big thing. But the big thing just said,
Oh, you are not my mother,
said the baby bird.
You are a snort. I have to get out of here.
But the baby bird could not get away. The snort went up. It went way, way up. And up, up, up went the baby bird. But now, where was the snort going?
Oh! 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 What is this snort going to do to me? Get me out of here!
Just then, the snort came to a stop. said the baby bird.
I want to go home. I want my mother.
Then something happened. The baby bird was home. Just then, the mother bird came back to the tree.
Do you know who I am?
She said to her baby.
Yes, I know who you are,
said the baby bird.
You are not a kitten. You are not a hen. You are not a dog. You are not a cow. You are not a boat or a snort. You are a bird, and you are my mother.
So that little bird found his mother. What have you got there, Tamsin?
A mother hen with 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 eggs waiting to be hatched out. And the mother hen's found a little worm.
Will we wait to see who gets the worm? These little ducklings look hungry, don't they? I wonder where their mother is. Maybe she's gone to look for some food for them. Will we give them some while they're waiting, will we? Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.